I think we'll get started because in the, I want to be cognizant of everybody's time. We said this was going to be a half an hour, so I would like to get started. You guys know me. I'm Kim Whitehead. I'm the general manager of the Woodstock Chamber of Commerce. And we have Eric and Vasco from Execulink that are going to do this presentation because this is far along beyond me. So if you have questions throughout the presentation, they want to do questions at the end. So if you have questions, just put them in the chat box at the bottom and they'll answer them at the end of the presentation. So without further ado, let's get started.
Is the meeting being recorded? Sorry, just to ask.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm terribly sorry. I forgot to say the meeting is being recorded and I will send you the link after once I get it back. Yes.
Okay, awesome.
Good morning, everybody. I'd like to introduce myself. My name is Vasco, and I'm a business development representative here at Execulink Telecom, and I'm also passionate about delivering awesome solutions to our customers. I will be discussing how to create strong Wi-Fi connection in your home office and the various technologies you can use to enhance it.
And my name is Eric Davies. I'm a sales manager at Execulink Telecom, and today I'll be discussing the technologies you can use to plan and design your wireless network for optimal performance.
Future-proofing your Wi-Fi connection. Today we'll be talking about how to future-proof your Wi-Fi connection for remote and in-office work. A poor connection can have major impacts on your business, including decreased productivity, loss of revenue, increased employee frustration. We'll explore the technology you can use to identify issues and effectively troubleshoot your Wi-Fi connection. We will start by covering how to manage your Wi-Fi in remote work settings and in small and medium-sized businesses. Then we will discuss what you can do to enhance your connection in large office spaces. We will share a case study example of a retirement facility and outdoor marina and explore how they enhance their Wi-Fi. Finally, we'll take your questions at the end. If any questions come up during the presentation, please share them in the chat and Kim will ask them on your behalf at the end. We would love to get a conversation going, so feel free to unmute yourselves during the Q&A portion of this webinar. Execulink is a locally owned and operated business servicing small towns of southwestern Ontario since 1904. Our head office is located Ridgeway Road in Woodstock. We specialize in offering personalized solutions for a wide range of businesses.
Today, we're going to review some of the most common problems we face in the Wi-Fi world. These include slower inconsistent speeds, intermittent connectivity throughout the day, the ability to prioritize critical services, and dead zones in particular areas. To combat this, we look at three fundamental metrics. The first is signal strength. This tells us how loud the signal is throughout the coverage area. Think about a loudspeaker at a Walmart speaking over the ambient noise of the shoppers. Second, we look at airtime utilization. This measures how much of the frequency is being used. Too many devices taking up space on the spectrum can cause issues. And third, we'll talk about interference. This shows how non-Wi-Fi devices can add noise to the wireless network. This is like ordering food in a loud restaurant. The order won't be heard if the music is playing too loud. A simple Wi-Fi setup is considered a small office space or a home office. In areas like this, you can centralize a single router to effectively capture about 1,000 square feet without issues. However, as some of you may experience, this isn't always the case. In these situations, a solution beyond a single router or access point may be required.
What is a complete Wi-Fi? Execulink Complete Wi-Fi solution, the premium router and mesh Wi-Fi node have the technology built in to overcome connection issues in smaller spaces like your home office. This router and node combination allows for higher quality Wi-Fi signal in your home or business with faster speeds, improved Wi-Fi coverage, and increased stability for video calls. We conducted an internal study at Execulink when testing the premium router to see the difference compared to traditional routers. This device is also a greater Wi-Fi coverage area, providing stronger connection in problem areas. The improved signal stability also decreases video call drops. The enhanced performance of the premium router is accomplished through auto-correcting features that improve speed, coverage in problem areas, and stability. Customers can view wireless stats for each device in their home. This allows for proper placement of your devices when installing them or troubleshooting when they are not getting optimum speeds. With the ability to add mesh Wi-Fi nodes, you can expand your network to blanket your entire home in strong Wi-Fi. When deciding if you need to add a mesh node, a mesh Wi-Fi node, or extender to your home, first you should consider your home layout and what factors you have that will influence your signal. Normally, moving the router to a more central location in an open area, away from other electronics, cement walls, steel doors, or enclosed areas will provide better signal. If that is not possible, we suggest adding mesh Wi-Fi node for that hard-to-reach area. Next, you must determine the placement of the mesh Wi-Fi node. In baseball, for example, when a ball is hit to the outfield with a runner on base heading home, the outfielder won't throw directly to home. Instead, he'll throw to the second baseman, aka the cutoff person, so that the second baseman can easily throw it to the catcher to tag the runner out at home plate. This is how the Wi-Fi nodes and extenders work. They should be in between your router and your problem internet areas. If your office is having connectivity problems, adding a mesh Wi-Fi node in your office will not help. You need to add a mesh Wi-Fi node in between your router and your office. Band steering. Now let's get into a bit more detail regarding the auto-correcting features of the modern router to help overcome Wi-Fi challenges. MIMO, multiple in, multiple out, allows many devices to talk to the router at once. Band steering will automatically select which frequency is best to reduce connection drops. Modern routers have dual band support, which means they are two Wi-Fi radios, a 2.4 gigahertz and a 5 gigahertz band. The premium router offers a unified SSID, which means that both of these bands are controlled under one Wi-Fi network. That means remembering only one Wi-Fi name and password. You will still get the right frequency for all your devices. Typically, we like to plan a network with 5 gigahertz as the focus, as more and more devices are becoming more tolerant of the 5 gigahertz spectrum. We want to direct more traffic to that spectrum since it can handle 8 times the capacity and airtime than 2.4 gigahertz. The premium Wi-Fi router improves performance by reducing interference and focusing the wireless signal directly to the devices using beamforming technology. Beamforming focuses the signal directly to the devices rather than having the signal spread in all directions from a broadcast antenna. This technology can help improve wireless bandwidth, utilize an increase wireless network range in your home office.
Now let's talk about larger buildings and enterprise solutions. If you're not working from home and need Wi-Fi in a larger office space, there are more in-depth tools that allow for better troubleshooting of deployments. You can leverage various technologies to identify interference and implement solutions that will anticipate capacity growth. There are also cloud-managed solutions to troubleshoot and make changes to your network in real time. One example of these technologies is the Spectrum Analyzer. We recommend this solution for small and medium-sized businesses, and we would not use this in a residential application. Right now, you're looking at a real-time spectrum analysis of Wi-Fi on a 2.4 gigahertz network. There are 11 channels on 2.4 gigahertz Wi-Fi. However, only 3 are typically used, channels 1, 6, and 11, due to their distance apart from one another. Your router or access point will choose one of those 3 channels, whichever is the most free. Here, we can see two prominent networks on channel 6 and 11. The list below shows the many other routers that are competing for space on the networks. Channel 1 is relatively unused in this example. However, it gives a great demonstration of the noise floor. The noise floor is ambient noise that can reduce signal strength and signal quality. This is like trying to talk to someone at a loud party. Sometimes if you're speaking at a regular voice, you can't be heard what they're saying because of the noise around you. The waterfall analysis on the left takes a snapshot of the signal over time. We can see if a particular channel is busy or noisy with interference. The spectrum analyzer allows us to look for interference spikes or utilization. We'll show some examples, but let's first look at some interferers. The common items such as baby monitors, Bluetooth devices, wireless headsets, appliances, or audio transmitters all compete for space on the same 2.4 gigahertz network and add to airtime utilization. Airtime utilization is a metric used to gauge how much usage there is on a channel. It represents as a percentage. The higher the airtime utilization, the more congested a network becomes. Let's look at a couple examples in real time. First, let's look at a streaming device. In this example, we can see a GoPro HD camera transmitting data. Channel 1 becomes flooded with that data. If our network was on channel 1, we would certainly experience some slower speeds and possible lost packets. As business owners, we sometimes cannot control what devices our employees or customers bring into an office, but these devices can have an impact on our overall network health. In this example, we get a glimpse of how a microwave can wreak havoc on a network. Pay special attention to the fact that a microwave does not confine to an individual channel and can have a negative impact over a broad range. This illustrates how an everyday appliance can impact the quality of your Wi-Fi network. The next example is a cell phone sending a file over Bluetooth. Notice how Bluetooth hops along many channels with those half peaks across the entire spectrum. This is actually an effort to avoid interference. Think of it like skipping a rock across a lake rather than doing a cannonball. It can still cause interference and will add to a channel's airtime utilization, even if only for a brief period of time. The past examples have shown how interference from other devices can impact our wireless network speed and health. Let's now take a moment to look at maybe the most important factor that contributes to your wireless health: placement. Identifying the best spot for a router or access point is crucial, and it impacts our signal strength, can be demonstrated in this visual. First, begin by defining your coverage goal and place your router or access points where the people need connectivity the most. Next, get as many devices on the 5 gigahertz spectrum manually or via band steering as possible. Lastly, identify and eliminate as many interferers as possible. This will help ensure peak performance for your wireless devices. Let me now walk you through a case study where we were able to bring all of these practices together. The challenge we faced was a long-term care facility that was experiencing VoIP calls dropping, dead zones, medical equipment that was unable to connect in some areas, and guest devices crowding the network. You can see in this map areas that needed attention noted in shades of red, and areas that coverage was acceptable noted in green. The gray represents an absolute dead zone where there was no wireless coverage. In this scenario, the customer had placed entry-grade routers around the building in areas that weren't necessarily ideal and did not effectively separate the Wi-Fi channels, so there was a lot of interference. Our customer placed the routers in central areas, so signal strength was very poor in hallways. Now, you can visually see the quality of signal is spread a lot better through the building after we deployed our Wi-Fi solution. We placed access points where they would be most used and covered hallways where dead zones were before. We set all access points to channels where they wouldn't compete for signal or experience channel interference. We also set up band steering so modern devices could connect to 5 gigahertz when available. Additionally, we established Wi-Fi priority for mission-critical devices. In this case, they're VoIP phones. This is known as QoS, or quality of service. This prioritizes some applications, such as voice, and deprioritizes others, such as streaming and gaming. All of this led to a very healthy wireless network and a happy customer. For our next example, we'll use a larger outdoor space, a marina. Execulink was requested to give a full survey and determine the best way to provide a great Wi-Fi solution so boat owners could enjoy video streaming right from the comfort of their boat cabins. There are a lot of unique challenges at play here. Obviously, primary and secondary coverage is important. Capacity is a consideration due to the volume of boat slips, and unexpectedly, there was a lot of interference to account for. In order to provide a high enough throughput for video, we needed to have a wireless signal strength at or above 70 decibels and account for a large amount of people to use at the same time. These are metrics we simulated with Ekahau. But first, let's look at the physical layout of our survey area. You can see our path around the boat slips indicated in green. And prior to the survey, we set network requirements. So when we pull up our visualizations, we will be looking at them with our requirements in mind, since every situation is unique. There are two ways we can simulate and plan a network. The first is a built-in AP auto planner, which places APs on the map based on your requirements and accounts for signal impeding obstacles like walls and shelves. This gives a great idea on coverage options in offices and indoor spaces. The second option, which we used at the marina, was the AP on a stick method. We love this method, even though it's more time consuming, because it gives true real world data without any building or infrastructure put in place. This picture illustrates an example of an AP on a stick. We are able to place a physical AP in a location of our choosing or based on Ekahau's recommendation, then survey the area around it. And Ekahau maps all the required metrics with that AP in place. When we are satisfied with that AP location, we can freeze it, move the AP on a stick to a new location, and repeat as many times as necessary to create a multi-AP deployment while only testing a single AP. The result is a tangible map with true-to-life results because we are able to situate an AP in a position as if it was installed, but without incurring installation costs and move it around as needed. This is something that Execulink has found to complement the service and something we are very capable of doing. Let's look at the real-world results of our AP on a stick method. In this example, we can see our primary signal strength meets or exceeds 7 decibels in the majority of areas. This gives us confidence that we properly configure the wireless network. Our range should be good enough to supply streaming video in this entire area. Again, we will take the secondary coverage into consideration and see what the coverage will look like if an AP fails or is out of service for an update. Here we can see that the majority of the slips are still relatively covered, with the exception of the wing of slips on the right. Since we are unable to deploy an AP on the dock due to customer requirements, if that AP fails, they will no longer have adequate service in that one area. At a glance, we can also look at pass-fail of overall wireless network health, indicating the spots that need attention noted here, with some reasons identifying why those areas failed. The beauty of this planning tool is that we can do all simulations, planning, and adjustments without any infrastructure cost and very minimal commitment to hardware. It's like a perfect solution discovery without commitment, which is an amazing thing. With this particular case, the failures were due to inadequate secondary coverage. This is sometimes unavoidable based on customer price point or requirements. We could easily add a redundant AP, but customers may decide it's not necessary. One thing we gained by doing this survey is discovering that a large amount of boat owners have wireless repeaters plugged in. This interference dramatically changed our deployment approach, and had we not surveyed, this would have required a lot of reinstallation and configuration. We've covered a lot of material today. Let's recap some of the key points. First, to enhance coverage in a home office, considering a router with mesh capabilities. Modern routers can overcome Wi-Fi challenges with features such as beamforming and band steering. There is a lot of competition on the 2.4 gigahertz band by items such as baby monitors, Bluetooth devices, wireless headsets and appliances or audio transmitters. Connect to the 5 gigahertz band whenever possible. Identifying the best placement for a router or access point is crucial to ensure connectivity. And our case studies demonstrate that you can troubleshoot larger Wi-Fi deployments using a spectrum analyzer and other tools from companies like Ekahau.
Thank you for joining us today in this webinar. We are passionate about delivering Wi-Fi and hope you learned about your own Wi-Fi network, whether you're in your home office or outside in your regular office. We will now be taking questions that you may have.
I guess I have to unmute. Okay, Diane, we have 2 questions in the box. So Diana asked, Belle has a junction box near where she lives, and last week she noticed that someone removed the top cover so that all the loop wiring was exposed to the weather and rodents. Could it affect her internet in the area if the wires are damaged? This week we've had some issues with internet and had to restart our router a few times. Or could that be a different issue could that be something different causing the issues?
So to be honest, it could be both. If you have a cover off of a access panel outside, I would certainly recommend contacting your provider, if it's not us, and have them address that issue. Certainly you wouldn't want animals getting into it or having it exposed to the elements, but that doesn't mean that's the only issue. There could be other issues impacting your network coverage inside the house. Could be any of the things that we talked about today in terms of your router placement, other devices in your house interfering with the signal, or multiple devices competing for room on the network. So to answer the question, I would certainly have it looked at, but it might not be the only issue.
Can I mention something? So I did call Bell, and I don't know if they thought I was just being a prank, but they still have not fixed it. Anyway, because doesn't every other service use the same wires and stuff as Bell's wires?
Not necessarily. Different providers might have different infrastructure to your address.
Oh, okay.
So,
all right.
Okay,
Just thought I'd mention it.
now, is
Stan
Bell
had-
your provider or is Execulink your provider?
I think Bell is our provider too. Yeah.
Okay, Stan had a question then. For your boat project, what type of internet connection did you use to service 300 customers?
For the marina?
Yes.
Yeah, so in that specific situation, we have a fiber connection to the main office of the marina. I believe it was a 1 gigahertz or a 1 gigabyte connection. And then we proposed using 5 wireless access points outside along the slips to provide coverage to the large area. So it was a wire connection to the main office and then a wireless access point to distribute throughout the open area.
Stan, does that clarify for you?
Yeah, that's great. When I saw 300 customers, I thought, wow, that could be pulling a lot of bandwidth. So you had a good connection. You had a good connection there. So yeah, that's great.
Yeah, and we, beyond our mesh service, which is really designed for residential and home office applications, we have 3 different ranging from small to medium-sized business up to enterprise, up to outdoor application APs. So depending on the use case, we have different access points that we use for different situations.
Great, thank you.
And Sam has a question. What is the best place in home for a router? You said you had said stay away from metal beams. She's just confirming.
Yeah, I mean, in an ideal situation, you would start by putting it in a central location. So if you have a traditional 2-story house and you're trying to get coverage into the basement and upstairs, you probably want to put it in the mid-level. And then you want to put it in as open an area as possible. There's no sense putting it in an area where it's behind a masonry wall, behind a steel beam, or near known interference spots, such as a microwave or an item like that. So you have to look at physical location. You also have to look at the types of items around it.
So I have an addition on my home and it's all open concept. So the router is on the main floor, like it's a 2-level, but so again, it's open, but it's in between 2 metal beams that are in the ceiling. So
yeah, so what I'm going to guess is you either have a specific area that's hard to reach, or you have an area that gets inconsistent speeds or inconsistent connectivity. Is that true?
yes.
So that would be a very good example of where you could benefit from a mesh product, where you would have your main router located somewhere centrally, and then you would put a mesh node in one of those other areas.
Okay.
I have a very similar situation, two-story house. My primary router does a really good job covering my main floor and my upstairs, but you know, when the world changed last year, started working the basement, I could never get good coverage there. Use a mesh node in the basement, and now I have coverage through my entire house.
Okay.
That's a perfect use case for a mesh system.
Okay, thank you.
On that note, Eric, so would you recommend if your Wi-Fi is bad at home, first upgrading your router and then adding, say, a booster or a mesh system? What would be your first step?
I think what you need to
upgrading-
determine is why is it bad? So is it bad because of the size of the space and the coverage, or is it bad because of possible interference? If you have areas in your house with poor connectivity, intermittent speeds throughout the day, then a mesh system would be a very good step to attempt correcting that. What we recommend in our case is you start with our premium router. And what we found is that solves a lot of problems on its own. Just going from a regular dual band router to our premium router increases speeds and increases coverage just because it's a stronger router. We find just making that change addresses a lot of the problems. After doing that, if you continue to have a dead spot in your house or an area with weak signal, then you can add the node to address that specific location.
And you talked about, I'm thinking, I'm not a techie, you talked about 5 gig, right?
Yep.
Is there 5 gig? Do you have 5 gig in our area? Like, I know it's not going to be around. Like, is it going to be more in the city of Woodstock or?
So what I think, just so we're not confusing technologies, okay. I think what you're talking about is 5G, which is a cellular product.
Yep.
That's what a lot of cell phones would now connect to for a cellular signal. When I was talking about 5 gigahertz, I was talking about a Wi-Fi band. So any dual band router can operate on 2 bands. The traditional 2.4, which has been used widely for quite a period of time and is used by all the common devices we talked about today. You know, your baby monitors, your Bluetooth devices, your streaming devices. So many items use it. If your Wi-Fi devices are connecting to that band, you're going to have a lot more competition for bandwidth and you're going to have a lot more interference. Dual band routers also operate on the 5 gigahertz band. More modern devices use it and less home devices use it. So you're able to connect with less interference and less competition. One of the best features of our mesh system is it uses a unified network where you technically have both a 2.4 and a 5 gigahertz band, but you can move seamlessly between it. So if you have a 5 gigahertz device, you're going to connect to 5 gigahertz. If you have a 2.4 gigahertz device, you're going to connect to 2.4 gigahertz. And as you move around your house, it's going to move you between the 2 bands, depending on which one you connect the strongest to.
Got it. Okay. So how long have the dual band Wi-Fi hubs been around?
So dual band routers have been around for several years. That's not a new technology in and of itself. We've had dual band routers for several years. Our premium router that adds in the mesh system, we've been selling since October.
Okay, all right. All right, is there any other questions that somebody wants to unmute themselves?
So what's the cost of the routers, like in comparison, the premium versus the?
So the base premium router is $995. So as I say, if you're having coverage issues in your house, that's a great place to start versus a traditional modem. And then as you add a node is $595.
Is that
and we
like
find most large homes, you know, you might be in a situation where you might need a node or 2.
Eric, I think she asked if that was a month, and I'm going to assume it was a month.
Yeah, that's a monthly.
Yeah, yeah. All right. Well, I want to thank you for, this was very informative. I learned a number of things this morning. I want to thank Execulink for hosting this. I will send you an email with the link so you can rewatch the webinar in case you've missed something. And thank you very much for coming this morning.
Thank you
Bye,
for having
everybody.
us.
Thank you.
Thank you.